course, what you've heard from some of the councils that you've sought statements for today is that there's a knock-on effect in that you can't sign off the current year accounts until the previous year accounts have been signed off. So you're left in this kind of limbo. To give you an idea, my local council, I'm a councillor down here in Bournemouth, Christchurch and Poole. Last year, our accounts were delayed by, I think, 9 or 10 months because the main auditor that we had from our approved audit firm actually left to join another firm, and the accountants couldn't find somebody else. So we're sat there not able to sign off our own accounts. But of course, in the context of some big councils having real difficulties, it does lead to a lack of transparency at precisely the time when it's needed.
Yeah, and transparency is so important, Philip. I mean, what can people do? How can we fix this? We've spoken this morning about perhaps submitting freedom of information requests. I mean, that is quite... Many people wouldn't even know where to start with that. And we've also spoken about the possibility of councils not being allowed to up council tax unless they can actually justify where that money is being spent. What do you think the solution is?
Well, look, I think there's, it's worth just a step back for a moment, because what we're not talking about here is the ability for councils to keep on doing what they're doing. Every year, every council has to sign off a balanced budget for the year ahead. So that business carries on as normal. What this is about looking back at the previous budget cycles of each council and getting a fresh pair of independent eyes saying, have they done all of this properly? So it won't, up-to-date accounts won't actually solve some of the looming crises that we've got moving forward with some of the councils that are in trouble, but they will bring up bad practice in the past. So there's a number of ways to fix it. The audit companies are saying that their fees aren't high enough. Clearly, there needs to be more, more staff in that system. But I think, at the same time, we've got to ensure that the real crisis, which is the next looming bad guys of councils that are really not looking after the council taxpayers, are being looked after. That's via a different mechanism. And I'm one of the lead peers for the LGA, for instance, and we're always going into councils to make sure that they're doing the best job for their taxpayers.
You can understand why people get frustrated, though, Philip, can't you? I mean, we were talking to various guests this morning who were saying, well, look, it's the council's responsibility. The councils need to sort it out. Yeah. Councils are turning around and saying, it's not our responsibility, it's a national problem. Well, who do we believe?
And that's a problem. And, and it gets tied up in politics, because I know, again, taking it back to my own council, there were a lot of people last year that were saying, well, you must be hiding something. The fact that you haven't had your own account signed off means that there must be something dodgy going on. And there's nothing more frustrating than being, a locally elected council that's trying to do their best job, and the accounts are being held up by a firm that is just simply not doing them. So there's a piece of work to do here. We've been pushing for this for a long time. It's absolutely unacceptable that this is moving forward. I think there's probably a pragmatic way of maybe writing off some of the pre-existing long-standing accounts that are sat in a pile on some auditors' desks for what we know are very, very good councils, so that we can focus on the ones most in difficulty. But at the same time, if you've got a local council, I just urge you to look at their last budget. That will show you the direction they're happy with. And what auditors won't do is get rid of a council that's not performing correctly. That can only happen at the ballot box.